First, started enjoying my next guest's work in the Great House of Games back in 1987. His collaboration with David Mamet on stage, as well as the silver screen, kicked off an amazing career that is now part of the Criminal Minds amazement that's going down with a 15th and final season that airs tomorrow in its premiere on CBS Wednesdays nights. The man, the myth, Joe Mantegna, good to see you here, sir.
Great to see you, Rich.
You got it. 15 years is an absurd run. You've been on for 13 years of that, too, right?
Yeah. I started the show when my hair was black.
You've gone full gray now.
It was like you finally surrender. You say, who am I kidding? You know what I mean? It's like...
Well, you know what? I would love to have had that option.
Well, that's it. It's all genetics. It had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean?
So let's before we go talk pop culture, let's talk about your Bears. What do you think about the current state of the Chicago Bears?
Being a Chicago sports fan, period, is always kind of a trial. You know what I mean? Whatever the sport. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Bulls gave us that little brief period of like, wow, we are a sports town.
That's right.
We are a city of winners.
Yeah.
But beyond that, there's always these periods, whether it's the Blackhawks, the Cubs, the Sox, the Bears, where you go through the doldrums. You go through those periods, and we're obviously kind of entering and immersed in there.
You never
somewhat.
know. I mean, 2 years ago, obviously last year was a playoff season. This year was a step back.
Yeah, but it's always still, it's always close but no cigar kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. We get used to that. They tease you with it. And it's such a great sports town, and that's what makes it even more challenging. But the Bears, I mean, look, I know there's a lot of controversy about the quarterback. Then you look back to, we went from Cutler to
Trubisky now, right?
Trubisky, yeah.
Right.
And so that in itself was a kind of a lot of conversation about that.
What'd you think of Cutler? Did you enjoy rooting for Cutler, Joe?
I don't know. So I never met the guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful human being and all of that.
By the way, when you talk about an athlete with that setup,
and
look
I think
out.
he's married to an actress too.
Yes,
so I mean,
correct.
so he's comfortable with somebody in the industry.
That's
so
right.
This
That's
is
good.
all good news, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I just look at all the great quarterbacks who I admired in my life, and I'm not the youngest guy in the room here.
Right.
And I think, and none of them have played for the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. So I mean, you think of the Joe Montanas and the Marinos and the Bradys, and go down the list. So it'd be nice to be able to say, yeah, there was that guy we had.
Have you ever been, I guess, in a restaurant or whatever, and people thought Joe Montana was in the room?
Oh, constantly.
Because of you?
I used to get a lot more in the day when Joe was actually active, But I remember one time I was making a movie, and I'm in my trailer on location, wherever it was, and there was a knock on the door. Mm-hmm. And I opened the trailer door, and there was a kid standing there with a football. And he's got this look on his face like, somebody had told him, hey, they're making a movie down the street. Who's in it? Joe Montana's in the street. Oh, God, let me go get the football. And so I didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to disappoint the kid or just sign it and say, yeah, I'm a little, my hair's a little darker than you thought.
So what did you do? Did you sign it?
I can't remember. I think I had to clue him in, because I thought I'll break his heart if he all of a sudden then sees that, wait a minute, the guy was a fraud. Yeah. So I had to break his heart and say, nah, you're going to have to keep looking.
You tell him, go down one trailer down, there's Gary Rice right there.
Yes, exactly. And for a while, I'd get Montana's fan mail.
Come on.
Yeah. I had a shopping bag full of mail meant for him, because some of these fan magazines had somehow got a mailing address for him and one for me, but they mixed them. So, because when I eventually was able to talk to him, which I've done a couple of times, he said, "Yeah, I got a bunch of your mail too." And so I think we swapped, shopping bags.
So maybe somebody was sending him, hey, I love you in Godfather Part 3. You were just a dynamite Joe.
He might have got 7 letters, and I got like 30,000. But that's the difference between the goat of the football and your workaday actor. But it's all good.
Joe Mantegna here on the Rich Eisen Show, and then a couple of your worlds colliding. You have played for a long time, David Rossi. now the manager of the Chicago Cubs.
Yeah, how about that?
David Ross.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you think the Cubs just put those two things together, Joe?
Well,
what do you think, man?
you never know. It could be serendipitous. We'll hope for the best.
Great
We'll see
word.
if they can run 15 seasons and on top. With good numbers. Let's see.
Hey, for a manager, that would be amazing if David Ross had a run like the one you've had on Criminal Minds. What do you think of your new manager for the Cubs here?
I'm hoping for the best. My feeling is, talk about what they say, what isn't a real managerial experience. I think hopefully what he'll lack in that, he'll make up for enthusiasm and all that. Now, I got to know Madden a little bit. And, one little funny thing happened this past season. I'm a good friend with the president of the Angels. So John Carpino.
Oh, we're big fans of John here.
John's
on
an
Angels
old pal
Radio.
of mine.
You're talking on Angels Radio right now.
Well, John was a roommate of one of my cousins, and that's how we first met years ago. So anyway, I've known John for a long time.
Right.
So anyway, last summer, they gave John an award for being the magnanimous guy he is, and the Angels supporting some charity.
Yeah.
So they asked me to give the speech for him.
Okay.
So it was a day that the Angels were in Chicago and had beaten the Cubs. I think it was a Saturday, and they'd beaten the Cubs. And so I got up and gave the speech and basically said, even though John's Angels beat my Cubs, I'm still happy. And of course, everybody booed me because we're in Orange County where I'm giving the thing.
Right.
But he gets the phone call while I'm there because I'm at his table. We're having dinner at the same table at the event. He gets a phone call basically saying how the games rained out for that they were going to play that day, the next day, and they needed to pick a rain date. And I guess the visiting team has a choice of the rain date. So John looks at me and says, when are you going to be in Chicago again? I says, I'm going to be there in June. I always go every June after the Memorial Day concert that I host with Gary Sinise. I says, I usually do a Cub game. I throw out the first pitch. He goes, what week? I told him. He goes, all right. He tells the guy, he goes, can we do it June 3rd? And the guy goes, yeah, we can do June 3rd. Great. So now that's set. So now I called the Cubs the next morning and I said, look, I've decided what game I want to do. I want to do the June 3rd Angels game. And the guy I got on the phone, one of the guys up in the office there says, oh, we're not playing on June 3rd. I said, oh, yeah, you are. And he says,
breaking news.
He goes, what are you talking about? He goes, that's an off day. I said, no, I don't think so. I said, just put me down for the 3rd. And like 2 hours later, I get the phone call. What the hell? How did you know we're playing the Angels? I said, well, what can I tell you? I got a little inside info.
And now look who the manager of the Angels is.
Yeah. I know. Now I get to go see Joe, too. Nice Italian boy, too. You know what I mean? Exactly.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be dynamite here. Obviously,
I love
just
Joe.
got Rendon too to go with Trout and Ohtani if he's healthy. I mean, that's a hell of a lineup.
These are my two teams. And I got to say, I have the soft spot for because I ran into Tommy Lasorda just about a month ago, and God bless him. He's an old pal too, and he was I did this movie Comrades of Summer years ago. Where I played a baseball manager, and Tommy was my mentor. He kind of took me around all weekend, and so he instilled in me that that thing for the Dodgers as well. So Angels, Dodgers, Cubs, and I gotta say the Yankees because Lee Mazzilli is such a dear friend of mine.
Lee Mazzilli's dad was my piano tuner.
No kidding.
I mean, by the way, words that you never thought. That sounds like a Mad Lib, right?
What? Right.
I'm from Staten Island, New York. I think Lee Mazzilli's father, because I remember when he came to tune the piano in our house, we're like, that's Lee Mazzilli's dad.
Oh, yeah, no. And
Lee Mazzilli was the man in the 70s
thing is,
for the Mets.
And I used to worry when I first met him because when he played for the Mets, and I'd be in the bleachers at the Cub games, I'd be swearing at him in Italian from the stands, saying, hey, Mazzilli, and I'd yell all these Italian dirty words at him. So now jump cut like 10 years later when I meet him as in a show business environment, and I was afraid I thought he's going to recognize my voice. He's going to know I'm that nut in center field at Wrigley Field. And I finally said to him, I said, Lee, I got to tell you, that was me out there that would yell at you in the He goes, oh, please, Joe. Every time I was at Wrigley Field, people were yelling at me. I couldn't decipher who it would have been. So
that's amazing. Joe Mantegna here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, before we get to Criminal Minds, the famed Swirsky Brothers sketch.
Yeah.
Okay, from Saturday Night Live.
Right.
It's you, George Wendt, and Robert Smigel, right?
Yes, and Mike Myers.
Mike Myers.
Yeah, we did the original sketch. They wrote it for me.
So now, so you're hosting SNL that week, and then you go into a pitch room or something like that, or
no,
how does this work?
didn't. Yeah, Smigel, who's not even from Chicago, he's from New York,
right?
But he knowing that I was from Chicago and that it was football season and all, he just came up with this idea and and of course he'd been around all these so many Second City people work on
Sure.
SNL anyway.
Yeah.
So he knew about the whole Club Bears cult thing.
Mm-hmm.
So he came up with this idea of says, hey, why don't we do the skit about the Bears? You know, people talking like the Bears. And I thought, fantastic! How great is that? So we do that initial skit, thinking, okay, it's a one-shot deal. It'll be
Right, yeah.
fun. The people in Chicago get a kick out of it. The next day, my phone is ringing off the hook from people in Chicago saying, "Hey, man, they're playing your skit like on the radio, like on a loop. They just it's constantly playing." And then next time I go to Chicago, they've got like billboards up saying the Bears, the Bulls, the Cubs, the you name it. Everything was everything. So then George winds up hosting the show a couple of weeks later, and they figure, well, perfect. We'll just make him Joe's brother. So I was Bill Swirsky, I guess, and he was Bob Swirsky.
So George wasn't in the original skit.
No, George was not in the original skit. I was like I said, I was the original skit.
Right.
They did for me was me, Mike Myers, Chris Farley, and
That's
Smigel.
right, Farley, because Farley's the one who had the heart attack,
Yes,
right?
yes. And then. And actually, they made a movie. They wrote a movie. Smigel wrote a movie, and it was really wonderful. And we were going to make the feature film, but that's when, unfortunately, Chris Farley passed away.
You were going to make a feature film based on the Swirsky brothers?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because if you think about it, they did the Coneheads movie.
Of course,
they
sure,
did all
of
those.
course. Wayne's World, all of it. Sure, yeah.
So they had a movie. We were scheduled to do it. Chris Farley passed away, and he was kind of the linchpin for the film. So what we wound up doing is doing versions of the film like for charity. In other words, we would do readings of them. And we did it in Chicago, and we had Mike Ditka actually come and play himself in the thing. Oh yeah, and this was such a perfect Ditka story because we did it for charity.
Yeah,
and this was about maybe 7-8 years ago now. We were going to do two performances, like one at 6 and one at 9, and we're sold out.
Yeah.
So, we do it. Ditka's there for the 6 o'clock one. We do it. It was great. Ditka goes out to dinner with his wife. He has a couple cocktails. He forgets to come back for the second one. And it was good. So it was Mike. I love Ditka. He forgets to come back. So luckily there was, I think one of the pitchers for the White Sox happened to be there. I forget who it was.
And read for Ditka.
And he stepped in and read for Ditka's part. But we did it. And Smigel was there, went, and I did it. It was wonderful.
So George hosted SNL a couple weeks later, and they just morphed your skit to include him.
Well, they just made him my brother.
Your brother.
His opening monologue was, "Hi, this is Bob Swirsky. My brother Bill is in the hospital because he had a heart attack," which is me. And so every time he would host it then and they'd relive that skit, he'd say, "Oh, Bobby's still in the hospital," or I forget if I was Bill or Bob, whichever one I was. Then I did do one more because I happened to be in New York. Because they'd always asked me to come back and do it with him.
Sure.
But I'd be busy. I'd be in California, I'd be making a movie, whatever. I'd say, "Look, boys, I'd love to fly in and do the skit. But I can't. I got to live my life here." But I did do one more when I think Danny DeVito was hosting the show. And so George and I both came in for it. So me, Danny, George, and I can't remember which one that was, but they wound up doing that skit like, I don't know, 15, 20 times.
We just had DeVito in here. I had no idea he was part of that. I would have absolutely asked him about that.
He did one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Bill Swirsky. You were Bill.
You were Bill.
I was Bill. Okay, I'm good to know that. I got to remember that. I'm Bill. He was Bob.
Just one more time.
Swirsky.
By the way, you should do it again because it still works. I mean, it's not like this is aged at all.
Oh yeah.
It still works.
Yeah, and I think it's affected the speech patterns of people in Chicago. Because now I think they look at the billboards and they think, I guess we're supposed to talk like that. I guess we're supposed to say "duh" instead of "the." I think that skit has effectively removed the word "the" from like grammar schools, teaching, how to speak in Chicago. How do you say "the"? "Da." All right, very good. Move on.
Fantastic. All right, let's talk Criminal Minds, sir. When you first started it, I mean, nobody sees 13 years of a 15-year series, right? It was just year 3 when you.
I came in the beginning of season 3. I was hoping, okay, I'll maybe get a season or 2 out of this. We'll see how it goes.
Right.
You don't know. I mean, the average show probably lasts 3 seasons. But, it just kept going on. I mean, it's a testament to the professionalism of everybody. I mean, the writing staff is hugely important. I mean, as the saying goes, if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, And so the writing was very important, the chemistry of the people, and I think just the subject matter. I mean, there's a lot of procedurals out there. There were shows about evidence and cops and robbers and, how many bullets hit the guy and this kind of stuff,
right.
which is fascinating enough. But our show was a little different in that we got into the mental thing, the psychology and the psychic, that aspect of the criminal. And I think that not just in the United States, the show is huge all over the world. Because I did a lot of publicity. A lot of us did all over the world, different countries. And we found out that it really translated. And a lot of women, our women made a big part of our audience, and partly because they're smarter than we are. And second of all, because they I think they were intrigued by, we want to know what these people are thinking. And you learn from it. I've gotten numerous emails from people to my website that'll say, I just want to thank you. I don't know how to reach anybody on the show, but letting you know there was an episode of Criminal Minds that I remembered, and I was in a situation and I learned from it, and it saved my life. And little things like that you don't expect,
That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's got to be great to receive.
It is great to receive it because we really did our best to portray, because it's a real organization. It wasn't like we were like space group from Mars type of thing. We were the FBI, the Behavioral Analysis Group, and they really exist. I've been to Quantico many times. And I have nothing but admiration for these men and women that really do that job.
What's it like going there?
Unbelievable. You go there and you spend a little time there and see what they're doing, and you realize, wow, if they had the time and manpower to address every case that was presented to them, they would solve all of it, because it's that much brain power and that much emphasis and work ethic and all of that. Just tremendous organization. I have nothing but respect for them.
Yeah, and the 15-year run begins its final season again Wednesday night, tomorrow night, 9 Eastern time. Thomas Gibson, Paget Brewster, Aisha Tyler, who's been on the show. I love her. She's phenomenal.
Oh, Aisha's been great. Yeah. I mean,
and more. Obviously, I just named just a few. Joe, you are the man. I love having you here.
I love being here, Rich.
Thank you.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live, or download the Rich Eisen Show app.